Oh, Jeepers Cripes. Hey, everybody. How in the heck are you? It's me, Charlie, your fearless host of the Cripescast. And if you're new to the podcast, this is the podcast where we talk to people for and or from the Midwest. Today, my guest is a very special Midwesterner. He and I go all the way back to high school. Went to Marquette High School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, right over there off 35th in Wisconsin. Great dude. He and my brother were really good friends. They were the same year. I was a year younger. They would make fun of me. I'm over it, clearly. We were all on the newspaper together. My brother was the editor-in-chief. Ira, I think he was a sports editor, I think he said, and then the arts editor. I ended up becoming the editor-in-chief, #nepotism. But anyway, that was back then. But what we were talking about is just Ira's journey into the entertainment industry. He and I actually then went on to sort of come up together a little bit in Los Angeles. We were both trying to break into different parts of the industry at the same time. So it was fun talking about that, especially if you're interested to how someone goes from, just being a kid in the Midwest to getting a gig in writing or producing or podcasting or whatever it is. And by the way, Ira hosts the podcast Keep It. You can find it anywhere you find podcasts. He's also a writer on a bunch of different shows, including Uncoupled, Q-Force, Nikki Fresh, Daybreak, a bunch of other stuff. So we get a little industry talk in here, a little Midwest talk, a little reminiscing of old times. I think you're going to enjoy it. But before we get to that, I do want to say thank you to everybody who came out to the shows at the Orpheum in Madison and the Resch Center over there in Green Bay. Wow, it was just an incredible weekend. First of all, the show in Green Bay, that was like it was an arena, and I would have never thought I would have gotten to that point in my career, in my wildest dreams. So I just want to thank all of you for making it happen. It was a very cool night. Had my whole team with me, Colleen, Dante, Max, my brother John. They've all worked with me and helped me get to this place, and so it was great to have them there. My manager and agent. Oh, geez Louise, what are you doing? Giving a thank you speech at the Oscars? Get on with it. No, but everyone was there and it was so much fun. Oh, also, Chastity Washington was our feature. You should follow her on Instagram at Chastity Washington. She's a Milwaukee comedian, incredible talent. My buddy Josh Burstein was the opener, and he and I go back to college. He's been on the podcast before. Anyway, it was just so much fun having everybody there. But perhaps the best moment of the night was when I said those magic words, "As always, go Packers," and then 7,500 people screamed back at me, "F the Bears." And I don't know if it was windy in that arena or if something was blooming, but I had all this moisture coming out of my eye area, and it was really something special. So thanks to all of you for making that happen, sincerely. And then at Madison, I went to UW-Madison. I'm a Badger, and to be able to play the Orpheum, you always pass that walking up to the Capitol or back down State Street, and it's an iconic theater. Played there with Adam Greuel from Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. He and I obviously did the album together. And then favorite part of that show, Teresa Marie Hardy, who was also a guest on the Cripescast, and she helped us record Oofda on that album. She was in the audience, so we brought her up on stage to sing Oofda. So it was really a great weekend, career highlight weekend for me. So anyway, it was great. Just reminiscing a little bit. All right, what are we doing here, Charlie? Are we going to get to this podcast? Yes, we are. But before I do, I want to thank our title sponsor of the podcast, Jolly Good Soda. It's the best gosh darn soda in Wisconsin. I know they're the sponsor. I know this is an unbiased take because they're the sponsor. But the reason they're a sponsor is because I unbiasedly, is that a word? I don't know, put Jolly Good in my old fashions and love it. And that's how we got the sponsorship, because I love the soda, so I wouldn't recommend it if it wasn't great. It's a local Wisconsin company. You can get it if you go out to your grocer in Wisconsin, Festival Foods or Piggly Wiggly or Woodman's or what have you, and you just say you got that Jolly Good or no, and they should have it. And if they says they're no, well, then you ask to talk to a manager. if you got the time. I also want to thank all of you for rating the podcast and leaving a comment, and I'm going to read one right now because the title of it is Charlie is Smarter Than You Think. That is the best backhanded compliment I've gotten this week. This is from Cats for Ange Birds, if I'm reading that right. Angbirds? All right, I'm not that smart. Anywho, Charlie is a wonderful interviewer and really puts his journalist skills into the podcast. I realized how knowledgeable and thoughtful he truly is. He is able to capture an interview and sync with his guests. I'm just a person in the central U.S. who found him on FB, Facebook, I know that, and YouTube. He keeps me smiling and reinvigorated me to follow the Packers and take a trip to Wisconsin to freeze my toes off. Thanks, Charlie. No, thank you for getting your tush back here. And yeah, you might freeze your toes off, but that's only if you're not drinking enough brandy. You drink enough brandy, you'll keep them toes warm, okay? Do not hold me to that advice. It's not scientifically based, okay? All right, there's the disclaimer. Okie dokes, enough chit chat. Let's get to the podcast. Here is my conversation with my buddy, Ira Madison. All right, well, we should probably give the audience a little bit of details on our friendship, which started in high school. Yeah, you were an interesting fella in high school, Ira, from what I remember. I remember you being a bully to me, is what I remember. I've waited now to bring that up. Huh?
I probably was.
Yeah, you would make fun of my dress, my garb.
Well, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. It's good. I've waited this long and I've gotten the apology. I feel like it's halfway. No. You mean half of it? No, you and my brother are still, and in high school we're really good friends. And wait, was it that you were on the Flambeau newspaper at Marquette High School and the yearbook, right? You did both those, didn't you?
I think I did both. I think everyone at the newspaper did the yearbook too, didn't they?
I don't know. I did not. But so we went to Marquette High School in Milwaukee. My brother was the editor-in-chief of the newspaper, and you also weren't you? Or were you arts editor? How'd that work out?
I was arts editor at one point, and then I was also sports editor at one point for no reason. I
forgot that. How did you get sports editor role? Did you?
Because I said I wanted it, and Noonan gave it to me, and then it was taken away from me when it was revealed that I didn't know anything about sports. So,
yeah. And then, all right. So you're born and raised in Milwaukee. So what was that like? What are you fond of Milwaukee? Do you come back a lot still?
Well, I mean, I come back. You know how often I come back.
Well, the audience doesn't. I'm trying to paint a picture here. You come back once every 2 years, and I get a call when you're already here, already at the bar, and you're like, hey.
With your brother.
With my brother. You give my brother a heads up. You don't give me a heads up. I see how it is.
Okay, well, to be fair, I had no idea you moved back to Milwaukee.
Oh, really? I've been back here for years.
Okay.
Don't you?
Well, I also haven't been to Milwaukee in years, so.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, we're really bouncing around the whole deal. So you started off, obviously, Milwaukee. You go to Loyola, start doing school down there, and what are you studying at that point?
I studied theater, and then I moved to New York.
Yeah. Okay. And then in New York, wasn't that when you started doing screenwriting?
I started doing screenwriting in New York when I went to NYU for grad school. And then I moved to LA 10 years ago. And when did you move to LA?
I was in LA 2 times. First time, 2010, to be a PA. And then when you moved to LA, I was in LA. I moved back after doing a bunch of news jobs. So I want to say 2014. Something like that?
Okay.
Was that
makes sense. Before I started actually working in TV.
Yeah, I remember that because before TV, before you got your first gig, you were I let you borrow my car. Remember that? The Corolla?
You did?
The red Corolla?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got it back
Did I scratch it?
Yeah, it wasn't you didn't scratch it. Well, you probably did, but there were so many scratches on it. What I did notice is the brakes you gave the brakes a run for their money, I think. They felt differently coming back.
I am famously a fast driver.
A fast driver?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so the brakes get put to use.
They do.
Yeah,
It's a tough
I'm
thing.
very happy that my car now has good brakes, although maybe they need to be fixed at this point too.
What are you driving now?
I drive a Mercedes.
Ooh. Wow, step up from the Toyota Corolla that I loaned you. Because I remember you saying you were a bad driver back when you borrowed the car. Have you gotten better?
I think I'm better. I think I'm better than 60% of the people in LA.
Okay,
Let's
well,
put it that way.
that's awful. That is LA. By the way, LA is a terrible place to drive if you're a fast driver, if you like going fast, because you're always going 35 miles an hour, I feel like, in LA.
Yeah, unless you drive like at night. So
Yeah, but even then, there's some
Best time to
traffic
drive.
jams there. I remember coming back from a thing at 2 a.m., and traffic jams all the time there. I know I'm not breaking
Yeah,
any news, but
I would say that I always forget that you moved back, and it's not that and I didn't see you that often in LA because you lived on the west side.
I know, which is an entire planet away. That's why, yeah, and you were in the valley, and I invited you over to my place.
I was never in the valley. I was in Hollywood.
I'm sorry. You
I
were
have never lived in the valley in my life.
I was in the valley before I was on the west side. All right, so you were in WeHo, you were in West Hollywood or whatever, I think, and then you were in the hills, and yeah, you invited me to your house once, and I couldn't make it.
It's all good.
Yeah, that's all right.
I don't even have that house anymore. So
Bummer. Missed my shot.
well, you know what? I was renting the house, and it actually taught me that I don't feel like being a homeowner yet.
Oh, really? You're not ready to make that? It is I just got done with my roof situation. That's going to be expensive. So I'm with you right now on that.
And it's expensive. It's probably more expensive. Your roof would be more expensive here than it is in Milwaukee.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. But it probably, I just got to stop thinking about it. Because then you're like, oh, this roof might cost what it would cost to just rent. What's wrong with me? But anyway, we're not here to talk about the finer economic points of renter versus home ownership right now. We're here to talk about you. And I continue to get sidetracked. So anyway, because at the time when you were borrowing my Corolla, you had all this education and you're a very talented writer, but you didn't have a gig in the industry yet. What was your first jump into the industry?
Well, technically, I went back to journalism. So I was I was working at a coffee shop in the Valley.
Yeah,
So-
you're working. Oh, that was it. See, I knew that Valley, and yeah, that's why you need the car, right, to get to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to get to Burbank. But my first gig, writing gig that I was paid for, was at BuzzFeed in 2014.
Which was the heyday of BuzzFeed, wasn't it? That was kind of like those were the
it's when
golden
everyone
years.
wanted to work there.
Yeah.
It's when everyone wanted to work there. I think everyone did work there that I know mostly, at some point or another. But it was a nice. That was back when I first got that job. I was very excited to work at BuzzFeed, and friends were very excited for me to get that job. So that tells you what BuzzFeed was like. 10 years ago? Almost 10 years ago.
Yeah. And did you get that from your Twitter activity?
I did.
So that's what I always. That's what I think is cool about your, your rise in this industry is it's all fueled by just doing the work, And then, I think there's a little bit of luck involved with anybody who does the work, myself included, that you get like then someone to recognize it and then sort of validate that with a job or something. But what was that like when you were working at the coffee shop and just like tweeting? Did you expect it to go where it went, or did you just tweet for the love of the game, or what was that like?
I mean, I feel like even if I didn't know where it was going, I always acted like I did. I mean, I'm sure you could probably say that I acted. That was sort of my mentality even in high school, that I would get the career that I wanted eventually.
Are you talking like a fake it till you make it kind of thing?
Maybe. Or, not even a fake it till you make it, but more just sort of like you have to tell yourself in your mind that that what you're doing is sort of will lead somewhere,
Yeah. Well, I don't think you ever have lacked confidence in your craft and what you do.
Untrue, but I'm very good at pretending that I'm not. I'm very good at pretending that I'm confident.
So were you not confident at that point, like when you were working at the coffee shop and doing the Twitter thing and all that? Were you?
I don't think I was confident that much in high school with it either, or even in 2014.
Well,
I mean, because I became a theater major at Loyola in Chicago, and then I went on the Tisch and got my master's in like screenwriting and playwriting. But I feel like, I didn't do much in theater in high school aside from, like working on a stage crew, because no one told me I was good at it.
I think I told you were good at it. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Did my validation not matter? My validation just didn't matter? I see how it is. No, I get that. So you sort of put yourself in a behind the scenes kind of capacity, and then even a writing capacity. But writing, you would say, has always been your biggest strength, right? That's what I guess I would say your biggest strength is the writing,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you doubled down on that, and then what kind of tweets were you doing that helped you get noticed by BuzzFeed? How'd they notice you there?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I made like a lot of jokes about like current pop culture events. I would like follow people who worked at BuzzFeed too and interact with them and get them to think I was funny. And so I think that by the time I applied, whoever is hiring me like knew who I was already, I think. So
yeah. So what was your first job then at BuzzFeed? What did they hire you to do? So you've got all these. You're basically becoming sort of a force on Twitter. Someone people are following. How many followers did you have at this point?
How many did I have at that point? I feel like I was still probably like around like 12,000.
Yeah,
if that. I don't know how many I had at that point. And now I have none. So
yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Well, I got that coming up.
I don't know how many I had, but I feel like I got exponentially bigger with my follower count when I started working at BuzzFeed, because I got there and sort of I can credit like that period of BuzzFeed where I feel like everyone who worked there, I was hired as a staff writer at first, and then eventually got them to change my title to entertainment writer, whatever that means. But I just wanted to be higher up than the staff writer. But there was that period where I feel like everyone was about self-promotion online, because that was still the time when you could use Twitter to get like a media job. You could use Twitter to get like a screenwriting or comedy job, right? So I feel like everyone I worked with was a lot about using their posts to like promote even their own content, or like following the right people and really sort of being like outrageous or funny online. And then if you work at BuzzFeed already, having that added attention on you. So I don't know, there were people I worked with who I feel like self-promoted themselves mercilessly, and I just sort of followed suit, and it ended up working out in the long run, because I left BuzzFeed after a year and joined New York Magazine, and then Then there was a reboot of MTV News that happened. That brought like a bunch of like high profile like internet people into its fold, and that I think is one of the bigger moments that helped me because I was at New York Magazine. I was at Vulture for 4 months when the MTV News reboot started happening. I quickly quit Vulture and joined MTV News.
Yeah. Did that end up being, because I remember there was a ton of hype around that, rebuilding it. So did all that hype match what ended up happening over at MTV News?
It ended up doing well for me in some respects. I had my first podcast there. So it taught me what podcasting was. And unfortunately, it also led to my first, cancellation?
Yeah, let's talk about that, because you're someone who takes sort of pop culture as sort of your fodder, and then you don't really hold back, and you've been trending on Twitter for probably not all the reasons that you wanted to be, or maybe you did want to be. I don't know. So tell us about your first cancellation. That's a great topic.
Well, that was after Trump's election, and it was a tweet about Jeff Sessions. And during his confirmation hearing, I made a joke about him bringing his granddaughter to the confirmation hearing because his granddaughter was Asian. And to me, it felt like a very clear ploy to prove that he was not racist by having a non-white person in his lap during the entire confirmation hearing. And I made a joke about it. And that was, I feel like, that was the right after the election in 2016, I feel like was the period when everybody on every side was very much on alert to attack anybody,
Right.
And I felt like there was definitely time for feel like people like on the right to prove that people who weren't on their side were just as bad.
Right.
And also deserve to be canceled. So my tweet ended up trending on like Fox News. It was talked about on Tucker Carlson. David Duke talked about how MTV News is evil and also racist. So that was trending for the wrong reasons.
If David Duke is calling you racist, that's a really interesting. I don't even know where to start with that. Well, what were you gonna say?
It was also a fun window into who we went to high school with, who watches Fox News, because the people who found out that I was trending would be like, Ira, I saw you trending on Fox, and I'd be like, well, I'm not sure. Why are you watching that?
Yeah.
Just definitely everyone in Milwaukee who probably we went to school with saw my name popping up during that month as a trending topic.
Yeah. Well, you were trending on Twitter, not just Fox. You were
trending on Twitter. I was like on the Fox ticker. I was everywhere.
So at this point, your career is, you'd been taking off from a career standpoint. You said MTV, big point in that as well. And now you're trending. And are you concerned at this point about your career, about what's going to happen? Or were you like, no, this is a good thing, all this publicity?
In retrospect, it was a good thing.
Yeah.
In the moment, it didn't feel great. And I took like a this is going to sound so, this is going to sound so annoying. I took a 2-week break and went to Paris.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're right.
I did already have a vacation. What's weird is I already had a vacation coming up. So I was already going on vacation. And so it happened to coincide with like, my tweet was actually literally on my first day off and I hadn't left yet. So when I had to just take some time off of writing at MTV for a couple weeks, I was already on a break.
So did the bosses at MTV call you up after that tweet and say, hey, you got to chill for a little bit? Or were they?
They made me delete it and apologize.
And
I did. And then, as is with the internet, it blew over.
yeah. Now, were you sincerely remorseful for the tweet that you made?
Not at all.
No. So, do you think? So you wouldn't change what you said or anything like that?
I would have changed the wording because I think that, I think the wording was fine too, but I think that, the implication from people was that like I was being racist towards Asian people in the joke, when the joke was clearly directed at Jeff Sessions. So I feel like I would, in retrospect, maybe I would word it slightly differently so the joke comes across better, but then also no one else who is sane thought that the joke was targeting Asian people anyway, so it was it was really more of a creating sort of a false reading of it to sort of attack me.
Well, and that's the thing with Twitter. I mean, I remember we even had Mark Norman on the podcast who, he does a lot of jokes that are, like the heart of them, the heart of them is good, but the nuances and how you phrase it and everything. And he described Twitter, because he tweets a lot, of just being like, sometimes it's a first draft, when you're talking about this stuff going on in pop culture right now. This is trending, so you get something out there. And sometimes
all tweets are first drafts.
Right.
I mean, who had the time, or who has the time to sit there and like agonize over the wording of a fucking tweet, especially if it's a joke.
Right. So,
you get it off quickly while things are trending and while a lot of people are going to see it, and then you move on.
Right. Well, unless you don't, then you apologize and leave for 2 weeks. But it's like, how do you balance that now? Have you learned from that situation? Do you take more care in? Well, I guess you don't even tweet anymore, so this is a moot point. But and we'll get. Let's just talk about that so people know. So why don't you have a Twitter account anymore, Ira?
Well, so on the always timed with the election, isn't it? Last election. I made a joke on Twitter about Beto O'Rourke. I have verified profile, so I changed my photo to Beto's profile photo, and then I tweeted that I will drop my nudes if Texas goes blue, and people thought it was him. Mm-hmm. And I was quickly suspended
funny.
from Twitter.
It's very funny. So you were indefinitely suspended at that point?
Yeah. So the other thing about that is that the week before I did that, pretending to be Amy Coney Barrett.
So you had.
So I was warned by Twitter a week prior.
Yeah.
I was warned a week prior, and my account was suspended for a day. And this time, the next week when I did the Beto tweet, I was suspended permanently.
Any regrets?
No, I don't have any regrets. I think it honestly has worked out in the long run.
Crazy too, because that's kind of and Twitter, I believe, your main platform, at least at that time, right?
Yeah, I mean, like at that point, I feel like I'd gotten tired of Twitter. Obviously,
you did this to yourself.
So it's where nuance goes to die.
Yeah.
Right. And you're driven crazy every day reading it. And I feel like I'd gotten to a point where, luckily, I had enough of a platform. Obviously, at that point, my podcast had been on for 3 years. Mm-hmm. I was writing for television already, and so sort of the reason why I was even tweeting so much and like making jokes on Twitter was gone. I did it to get a job. Right. And I already had the job that I was doing it for. So at that point, there was no purpose for me to continue to, throw out things on Twitter,
Yeah.
So in the long run, I feel like maybe it's helped me, spend less of my time thinking up funny tweets for trending topics.
Yeah.
I'm sure that time in my brain has just gone elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of have given up on Twitter a little bit. I mean, I just sort of tweet my videos and stuff, and then, but I found I used to do that where I would like look at whatever is trending that day and make a joke about it or whatever. But it's exhausting, and it doesn't always. I stopped enjoying it myself too, but it was never, I guess, the core of necessarily what I do. I just feel like if like someone took like my core platform right now and like suspend me off it, I'd be concerned, but
well, yours is Instagram.
Probably TikTok actually right now.
Okay.
As weird as that
All right.
is. Yeah.
All right, you're Gen Z. I get it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm working for the Chinese government, I'm just trying to, I feel like sometimes I'm the violin player on the Titanic, I'm just entertaining while we all sink a little deeper,
Oh, wait, so do you put Manitowoc Minute on TikTok?
Yeah, so I do like all the Midwest sketches and then just the normal sketches and all that sort of stuff. And yes, Manitowoc Minutes as well. I've actually got to shoot a new Manitowoc Minute episode. I haven't been doing those as much because, they take a long time. They have a short shelf life. And we've been, kind of just busy cranking out some other content. But I do have to do more of those. Thanks for building up that anxiety. We always have these undue anxieties that nobody's even, pressuring, but we internally pressure ourselves on them. But yes, when those episodes do come out, I put them on TikTok. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. So you went out on Twitter. I feel like you must have done that. You knew what was going to happen. Didn't you know you were going to?
Yeah. For the longest, I tried to do like a thing of tweeting less. I tried to maybe like leave and sort of like cancel. Sorry, I tried to suspend my account at one point, or just sort of like put it on hold, and then that never really worked because you always end up going back to it. And I think the nuclear option was subconsciously the best option because I was like, well, I can't come back from this, and I never wanted to be one of those annoying people who like Jack Dorsey, right? Who announces they're leaving Twitter.
Right. Yeah.
So many people love to do I'm leaving Twitter. I can't be here anymore. And I think it's self-aggrandizing. So
it's very self-aggrandizing.
It was better to be kicked off.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You went out in a blaze of glory. It's you kamikazed your account. Good for you. Mm-hmm. So since then, because now you're writing and you're doing the podcast, which one do you enjoy more?
I enjoy both, I mean, the thing about the podcast is it's basically a well-oiled machine at this point. Mm-hmm. We're wrapping up the 4th year of it. We got 2 more episodes this year, and then year 5 starts in January. So it's like at this point, it runs itself,
Yep.
And so I enjoy doing that. I always enjoyed pop culture and sort of like talking about it. Just like, like we said in high school when I was writing. And I had my own column in high school.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, I remember
that. I had a column in the newspaper.
I think you got in trouble for some stuff you wrote then, too, from what I remember. Maybe those were just internal conversations. But I feel like some of your first drafts were questionable.
I had a lot of opinions about the school, and I put those in print.
Yeah, you did.
So that I feel like was that was something that I've always enjoyed doing, though, and now I just get to do that every week instead of having to be on the grind of like working for a publication again and have to come up with something every day. It's nice to just talk about something every week that's on my mind and then move on from it. And then writing obviously fulfills the thing that I'm the most passionate about. So.
Yeah. I find with podcasts, that's why I like doing them, it's less reactionary of a medium than, say, Twitter, or Facebook, where you can just jump on the comments and just say something right away. You more so have to listen to the whole thing and digest it. And I think it's better for us as people in general. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, people don't respond to my podcast the way they used to respond to tweets. So that's a plus. The most, if someone reaches out to you because of a podcast episode, it's usually because they like it.
Right.
I feel like for the most part, podcasts aren't even like news, or like other forms of social media or content that's out there. You you have to go and make the choice to listen to an entire episode, So the people who are listening to the episode probably already like you.
Yeah.
And they're already sort of like in tune with how you talk, the references you make, and so they sort of read, like they can tell jokes apart from serious statements the way that, so you sort of can't get that nuance in writing, like on Twitter,
Tone has so much to do with
the tone.
Yeah. It's like
unfortunately our show is also on Snapchat, so they clip out parts of it and put it on Snapchat. And that is then where
where the things come from. Yeah.
That is where people get mad at me for being mean to Justin Timberlake.
You really should be nicer to him. White men in America are getting a bad rap, and you don't need to double down on that. See, someone's gonna cut that out. If that's our highlight. Now I'm canceled.
What are your listeners like?
What do they like? I think they like just hearing, different people from the Midwest giving different perspectives on stuff, and also there are a lot of people that listen that, based on the comments, are trying to maybe get into media in some capacity. So I think they enjoy hearing people's journeys and how they decide to do it. I think a lot of people think about doing it and they would like to do it, but they don't know where to start, So that's why I like to go into the origin stories,
Well, I love your origin story. I know this isn't about you, but I love your origin story.
Thanks,
and I'm really happy. I'm happy about where you are now.
Thank you. We've come a long way from me loaning you my Corolla. That was a mutually beneficial thing too. I had to go back to the Midwest for a little bit, I think, or I had a gig somewhere for like a couple weeks, and I couldn't park my car anywhere in LA. So, that was mutually beneficial. It would have been nice if you put gas back in the car, but you know what? I'm not even gonna. I'm kidding. You might have put gas in. I don't really remember, but if you didn't, I haven't forgotten. So
I probably didn't.
By the way, with your podcast, you've taken a different road than when I took. By the way, Keep It is the name of the podcast. You guys should listen to it. Download it. Do the deal. Whatever you do, leave a comment, right? Rate it. Leave a review, right? That's what we want to say there.
Yeah.
Yep.
You rate and subscribe podcast.
Rate, subscribe, do the whole thing. So you decided to partner with a bigger media entity to do your podcast. What was the choice like going that route as opposed to just self-producing? And do you have any regrets over not self-producing? Has it been easier being attached to a bigger media entity?
Well, as a creative, I'm also lazy, and I also have ADD. I also have ADD, I feel like. So, focusing on doing a podcast by myself, I don't know if I would be where I am right now. I know that I had one at MTV News before, and so I enjoyed doing it. And then I guested on a podcast from Crooked Media, where my show is at. And they talked to me about wanting to develop a pop culture show because they didn't have one at the time. And so they approached me about developing one. And I was like, sure, I would love to. And now they sort of, we split everything 50-50 in terms of like the what we make for the podcast. But for me, the benefit of just logging on and recording and then being done is great. I don't have to edit anything. I don't have to promote it. I don't have to book guests. So that is a benefit to me. It feels almost like doing like a news television show, like you get to feel like the talent,
right?
And not like you are, a one-man band.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum, and really what ends up happening is you get Colleen produces this, and she does a great job, and thank God, because I'm not good all the stuff you're talking about, because I got, you got a bunch of stuff going on, and I do too, and the finer details that you need to make a podcast successful. If you're paying attention to all those, you kind of miss the higher vision of what you're doing it for and all that. So I get that.
Oh, folks, excuse the interruption, but I want to shout out our sponsors for the podcast. I told you at the top of the show, and I'm telling you again, get yourself some Jolly Good soda. If you're in Wisconsin, you can get it at any of the grocery stores. If you're not, you can get it at jollygoodsoda.com. They also got merch up there and a bunch of other stuff would make great gifts for Christmas. Also, I want to shout out Duluth Trading Company. Hey, winter is coming up. Are you prepared for the elements? You know that you got to layer in winter in the Midwest, and Duluth's got all your layers. They've got the Alaskan hard gear for your outer shells, okay? That's top of the line outdoor equipment right there. And then, of course, they've got all the fashionable Duluth Trading signature series, with their crouch gusset pants or whatnot, that allow you to work and look fashionable at the same time, and a whole host of other stuff. Get them, find it over there at duluthtrading.com. And finally, if you're looking for gifts for Christmas, head on over to Cripescast.com. We got a merch section with a bunch of Midwest stuff. Ope shirts, keep her moving shirts, keep her moving koozies, watch out for deer koozies, keep her moving bottle openers. We got watch out for reindeer shirts, Ope Christmas tree. We got a bunch of great stuff, cribbage boards. I could keep going, or you could just go to cripescast.com, see for yourself. Okie dokes, back to the pod.
Do you feel like you could get an ideal writing job, or do you think your big passion would be to get do film, do a TV show that you write, and what's the big pie in the sky dream for you?
I think film. I finished my first screenplay this year.
Oh, congrats!
Thanks. It's a Christmas movie.
Is it?
And it's at a studio. So we're just waiting for it to be greenlit. But it was an assignment. I was hired to do it. So that was my first step into getting into film. I've loved TV, and I've loved TV writing, and I will always love TV writing. But I think my heart sort of lies in film, ultimately.
What is that process like to become a writer and get a studio to approach you to write a script? How's one even get there?
Okay, well, so the producers first approached me, and that is because everything's from relationships you make, right? The same way that you get a job, if you're tweeting and someone sees it and they like you, and that's how I got, my first few jobs. It comes from relationships that you have with other people. Someone I knew was working for a producer who was looking for someone to come on and write a script. They approached me, I expanded on the idea, and then we took that pitch to a studio, and then the studio bought it, and then I was hired to write it.
Got it. Okay. So, and what you said about relationships, I feel like when I was in LA, maybe I was spending more time on developing relationships early on in my career than I was my actual craft. I was spending more time networking. Do you find that balance difficult, or did you in your career?
Well, I think that I'm just naturally I'm a social person. So I feel like I do enjoy the aspects of what you'd call networking. And I feel like networking is easier when you actually enjoy being around people.
Yeah.
You enjoy talking about your interest and culture in general with people that you meet, because that's really what networking is, right?
Right.
It's of course, you can move here and be a part of networking events, where you sort of meet people like yourself who are new and looking for a new group of people within the industry to sort of bond with and sort of go on their journey with. But I feel like in terms of when you are ready to get an actual job or a manager or anything like that, it's through relationships that you have. My manager I was friends with before she started repping me, and a lot of my jobs I've gotten through personal relationships.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, all the relationships in the world don't matter if if your content or what you're creating isn't up to snuff. Did you ever feel like you were I would say, not balanced in the amount of time you spent working on your craft versus working on relationships. I suppose you never felt like it was working on relationships. You did that naturally. But did you ever feel like you had to catch up on your craft and focus more on that than being the social butterfly?
I mean, there's definitely times where I don't write enough, you know? And sometimes you can beat yourself up about it. And then sometimes you just sort of have to take a break and make yourself right. You know, and part of when I talked about, you know, like the taking like 2 weeks off, you know, like a European trip, you know, that's what I'm planning for the holidays. And that is, I also use that as a time to be away from everything in my regular life. And that's usually when I get like a lot of work done too on personal things that I want to do and not stuff that I'm currently assigned to be doing.
Do you find it's in these times when you deliberately take time off that your mind is able to think or be inspired, find the next, you know, big idea? Or do you just completely focus on turning it off and just being a human?
I sometimes try to turn it off and focus on being a human, but I also just focus on writing. The thing about my brain is I'm constantly coming up with ideas and I'm constantly being inspired by things. I just need to, at a certain point, then force myself to sit down and work on it. Yeah. And that I feel like is what taking the time off is. You know, I don't need to go away to be inspired. I can get inspired like on a Tuesday about something, and you'll write it down. My notes app on my phone is full of ideas. And then there just comes the point where it's like you actually have to sit down and work on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do that same thing. So you just write stuff down in your notes app, and then you say, okay, time to dump the notes app out like a junk drawer, and then just go through it. Like this is a winner. This is garbage. This I don't even know why. I
love doing that.
Yeah.
I love scrolling back through my notes app, and sometimes you'll go back like even further, and you'll be like, oh, look at this thing I wrote like a few years ago, you know, and like there's always something there that was in your brain. I think someone was describing it as I forget what article it was because I didn't actually see an article. A friend shared it on Instagram, but they described how like all the social spaces that we have on the internet, and they just as like like public forums, like Instagram, like Twitter, and like our phone and iMessage, and then being out in the world. And then they described personal like internet gardens. And like they described like a notes app as like a garden, it's a personal space where you go and you sort of like take your brain and you're alone and you reflect on things. And I think writing for writers and like artists, like writing things in your notes app, that's like a personal space where it feels like you're not performing for other people. You're really just sort of like taking your own thoughts and reflecting on them.
Yeah. Would the dream for you be to always write, or do you think you want to direct at some point, act? You were in, weren't you in You? Weren't you?
I was in You season 2 briefly. I did a cameo, and then I also did voice acting in the last show that I wrote on, Q-Force, for Netflix.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, I'm in SAG, so I hope I keep acting. I audition, so.
Do you?
Yeah.
You like that process?
Yeah, I like it from time to time, so it's fun. It's fun. I enjoy doing it. Is it what I'm extremely passionate about? No. I think obviously it's something I enjoy.
Yeah.
There are people who are as devoted to their acting craft as I feel like I am as to writing.
Right.
But I feel like, if you're an artist and you love the medium, you love doing all aspects of it. I mean, acting helps me become a better writer,
I was just
interacting with actors.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like directing my own stuff is something that is in my mind, so I mean, obviously I would love to just be working on screenplays and books and I don't know, living in a villa somewhere.
I feel like, I honestly, when I imagine where you live, I feel like it's in a villa somewhere, You're a villa kind of guy.
In Spain, somewhere in the south of France. And then I only emerge, every couple of years.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how I feel, when you come to Milwaukee. it's your great emergence. By the way, when are you coming to Milwaukee next?
I don't know, but I will text you when I come.
Yeah,
time.
are you going to text me?
I'll let you know in advance.
When you're in the bar down the street.
I'll let you know in advance the same way
Okay.
I let Andy know.
Yeah, okay. I know how you let Andy know. You probably in the. Do you let Andy know? Do you give Andy a heads up?
I usually will text Andy. I'm coming to town next week.
Okay, so my brother gets a week heads up. I get an hour heads up. I see how it is.
Well, Andy's been one of my best friends for 20 years now.
Yeah, no, and I'm just his brother. I see how it is. No, I'm fine with it. Hey, do you like Milwaukee? Do you ever think you get a place back here because your family's here?
Yeah, you know what? I like Milwaukee. I do.
Yeah.
I don't know what's in my future in terms of Milwaukee. I don't know if I'd get a place there.
Cheap? It's cheaper here than it is out there.
I know. But would I spend time there?
Well, is your grandma still around?
Yeah.
Yeah, just buy her a house. She has a house.
I hope she has a house.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has a house. We've been in that same house for years.
Buy her another. When the director deal comes down, just buy her another. That'll force you to a little vacation home out on the lake or something.
Yeah, a summer vacation place in Milwaukee.
Yeah, that might get you here more.
Okay, I'll think about it.
I feel like I'm pressuring you here, and you're not fond of my pressuring.
Are you gonna stay there?
Yeah, I'll stay. Yeah, if you have a nice lake house, yeah, I'll be your tenant keeper. The guy who mows the lawn and stays for free.
Okay. How long do you see yourself staying in Milwaukee?
Well, I was going to ask you this. I don't necessarily see a reason to go. The reason I went to LA to begin with is I couldn't make a career doing this stuff in the Midwest, but now with social media being what it is, I think you're able to kind of do what you want from wherever you want. Would you disagree?
No, I wouldn't disagree. So, yeah, if you love being at home, then that's great.
Yeah, I like the seasons. Some seasons more than others, but yeah, whatever. You're kind of a comfort creature of comfort. You like the sunshine and the warmth. Is that
I do
fair?
like the sunshine. I like living where it's warm and vacationing somewhere where it's cold.
Yeah. Well, vacation home in Wisconsin then. You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Anything I didn't ask you, Ira, that you wish I had asked you?
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. Give me some advice to, an aspiring young whippersnapper who wants to be where the great Ira Madison III is right now. What's your best advice? You just rolled your eyes. Don't think I didn't see that. I saw those eyes go into the stratosphere.
They were trying to think.
Up by Elon's rocket. Oh, that's how you think. Okay. I see.
You know what? If you want to do it, then do it.
Do it.
That sounds like I'm giving the Nike logo, but I think when tracing, my journey as you did so eloquently earlier from high school to now, I always sort of thought that my opinions were important or they mattered to me. And so I decided that they mattered to other people. Mm-hmm. And I think that is how my career has gone, deciding that what I was saying was important. If it was important to me, it was important to other people.
Yeah.
It's important for other people to hear it at least.
Yeah. It's that confidence that isn't necessarily that idea that what you have to say is important. I don't think that's necessarily a Midwest trait, perhaps. Usually it's, I feel like in the Midwest, it's very maybe polite and very, not wanting to stir the pot. But what,
the opposite of me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, born and bred in the Midwest, you are a pro pot stir. No, it's great, but that is solid advice. If you want to do this thing and get out there, just do it, and just like Nike says. And yeah, I think that's very sound advice. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Well, I believe that concludes our podcast. Can you tell people where they can find you if they're interested in finding you? I gave you a little plug before, but 2 plugs in one pod is pretty good. want to make this worth your time.
Keep It is available wherever you get podcasts.
And where can we follow you on social media, if not Twitter?
Just on Instagram at Ira the III.
Great.
That's the only thing they'll let me on.
And then you can drag him on Snapchat if you want. That's where he'll read all your beautiful
Yeah, you can follow Keep It on Snapchat too. It's a twice a week Snapchat show.
Awesome. Ira, thanks so much, man. This was a lot of fun. I can't wait for you to give me a heads up the next time you're in Milwaukee.
I promise I will think about it.
Okay, cool. All right. Appreciate that.
And that is it for this week's episode of the Cripescast. Make sure you follow Ira on Instagram. That's at Ira the III on Instagram. Big thanks to Ira for coming on the show. You can also follow the Cripescast at Cripescast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Be safe out there. Keep her moving. Watch out for deer. And tell your folks I says hi. Oh, and as always, go Packers and the Bears.
So roll out the barrel and get the band brewing. Life's got you down, just keep her moving. It's on Wisconsin, the Badgers say it's the old Wisconsin Jubilee.
You know, sometimes when you're ice fishing, you put your foot in the walleye hole and go ass over tea kettle and you think you're done. No, you gotta keep her moving.